Okay, so AOD went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Is this the sort of film which is one expects AOD to really cover? Well, here's the thing: one may or may not know. It doesn't matter. One really ought not to know or care, frankly. We've covered some of those Marvel comics adaptations on film before. I quite like the two Avengers films that Joss Whedon did, particularly the first of them. They're fun, and they captured the tone, actually, the Jack Kirby tone of Marvel comics quite well. The X-Men films. The first two are kind of fun, particularly the second one. Days of Future Past is brilliant, and that's the best Marvel Comics film adaptation of all time, I think. Easily. I think people who think it's something else are just idiotic, I'm not going to lie. And then you have... I like the first two Blade movies, particularly the second one, Del Toro's film, terrific. And then you had... obviously no one likes X-Men 3, and First Class is okay. Apocalypse is horrible. The point is... Okay, so let's talk about Deadpool for a moment. I like comics Deadpool. Film Deadpool... Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool seemed to me a bit like... They're okay. Both of those films aren't... They aren't unlikable. I wouldn't call them lovable by any stretch, but they're far from unlikable. Deadpool and Deadpool 2. Deadpool and Wolverine is the first time, however, and this is my criticism of those first two Deadpool movies, as someone who knew about Deadpool and thought he was pretty cool before those films came out, and versus everyone who just kind of pretended that they did, fucking normie scum. No, I'm joking. I don't even know if I'm joking. Sorry. Anyway, this is the first time it's comics. This is like the Deadpool from the comics. About time, I guess. The first two films, it was a bit too pandering to people who thought they were clever and who just found out about Deadpool because of that trailer from 2014. And they're like, oh, I like this guy. I'm going to be considered a comic book fan because it's popular now. Ooh, superheroes, even though they used to bully and belittle people who were into it prior to 2012. I'm just resentful about people. I have a cousin named Edward. Hopefully bad things happen to him. Anyway, so Deadpool and Wolverine is really fucking good in my opinion. I saw, images, posters of this, and I'm just like, they can't not fuck this up. Then again, I might have thought that about Logan, because the first two Wolverine movies aren't that great. The first one was just kind of a meme at this point, and the second one is really bland and dull, and it doesn't go all out on the action or violence as the kind of edgy Wolverine film should. Third one did go out on the action, and it was good in that respect, but all the sentimental shit post Dark Knight Rises, because Dark Knight Rises is crap. I like the Dark Knight, but Batman Begins is okay, but Dark Knight Rises is horrid, and it makes me feel as though, wow, Christopher Nolan really is a fucking narcissist. Jesus. And then you had Logan's just pretentious shit. People who think the fact that Jay Bauman, Logan's magnificent. Jay Bauman's a hack, an unironic hack. They say, oh haha, we're hacks. You're hacks. The prequel trilogy is more of a mixed bag than a failure, and people can't think in nuanced terms, and so they're like, oh well, it fucked up a few things, so therefore the whole thing comes falling down. Please forgive Return of the Jedi for the Ewoks though, and the sibling shit. That's fine. And new kind of nerfing Darth Vader. That's fine. And having a second Death Star. Forget that Jedi has all the fucking problems which the newer films have, plus some of the prequels problems. And I like Jedi. Jedi's still got the great production aesthetic, but let's not pretend it's about production's aesthetic. The technology and the filmmaking, as opposed to the story and the script. And, the structure, things that Doug Walker and Mike Stacklasa told me about. That makes you you have to criticize the movie over that. Doug Walker, Mike Stacklasa told me about it. You can tell, people who haven't gone to university, I didn't actually... I chose to defer from university because of the debts, frankly. And I was studying film, but then I realized that there was no certain career at the end of the path other than working in the university itself, which I had mixed feelings about, because I did okay in film studies. I got a credit, which, if you know how the New South Wales higher education sort of grading system works, the credits, the high distinction's the best, and your distinction's the second best, and your credit is your third best, and everything else is a participation. And if you get credit upwards, that's considered good on you. And I got a credit for a discussion for a piece I did on High Noon in my first year of university. My first and only year. I was on campus a lot the second year because I was seeing someone at the time, but who was still at university. But and I was me and Noel Oakeshott had a radio program called the Hack Half Hour, which continued in 2016. But the point I'm making is, I just it did not make sense to stay at university. And plus, like, film studies, the problem is, like, I can't really operate like kind of working with you were in a film studies course. You just basically have to write pieces about why the person who wrote the course's ideas of the medium are the correct ones. That's basically what you're doing. And I don't. If you've seen any of this channel, if you've seen just one video from this channel, you know that, like, I'm an uncooperative piece of shit. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't just rack up debts for this crap. I can't. And so I eschewed graduating from university and all the cred that entailed. However, I did enroll. I did spend a year there. And I know people who did not spend any time at a university, at least not in the arts centre, which, you know, if you did university for, you know, if you're in STEM, you know, and then you just happen to have moronic opinions about films and art because you're a moron on those topics, then so be it. But, you know, you can tell people who didn't take any courses and who, like, have such a pathetic, basic, contemptible high school English class understanding of artistic texts. It's really just sad. And, like, I don't even think you people, like, deserve this stuff, to be honest. No, because here's the thing. It's like these people put so much hard work into these things, and you think, haha, plot hole. Look, Doug Walker told me, but you can own these movies just by sitting on your couch and pointing out things that he pointed out. Ha 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 ha. It's really just contemptible. But no, Deadpool Wolverine's really good. Blade came back. We got Jennifer Garner as Elektra back. Gambit, I never thought Channing Tatum would look the part as Gambit, and he doesn't. He's too kind of bulky, not like kind of slick and slender. But the voice is down pat. And just Gambit's action is fucking great. I'm a sucker for the old X-Men stuff, and, you know, up to like the early 90s. So Gambit's like part of the breed. Just makes the cutoff for when kind of things went to shit in the Lobdell era. But, you know, like, it's the best Marvel. It's one of the few Marvel Comics films that are really fucking good. Superhero films they don't work well in the live action film medium, I feel. I'll tell you why. Firstly, think about a comic book. The imagination of a comic book is only limited by what an artist can draw, potentially. And they can angle their hero with via whatever spatial spectrum they deem appropriate. You don't have to worry about camera angles or any of that logistically within a comic book. Obviously, it's just limited by what you can draw. The same applies to animation, cartoons, you know. And plus, those storylines are episodic, you know, comic books, serialized to television programs. They lend themselves to, you know, he fought some villain in 20 minutes, you know, however long it takes to read, or however long it takes to read a comic book issue, 15 minutes maybe. And then, you know, that's that. How do you extend that into like a 2.5 hour film? Now, if you're doing like a comic book, you know, the kind of multi-part, you know, 6 parts, you know, Batman's got to take down the Joker or whatever, and you do it in 6 parts, you know, so be it. Batman's a little different, he's a bit more grounded, but like take the Infinity War duology. Oh, watch my Zack Snyder's Justice League video if you'd like to hear my more possibly articulate thoughts on this. Because that film did it right, where the Infinity duology didn't, because those films had a really poor understanding of space, I feel. Like, they don't frame their action like how an animated film or anime with carte blanche budget would have. Think about how Akira looks. What they do is they decide to remain trapped within live action parameters. They just like have the camera following Iron Man or Thor flying around shooting lasers at everyone, and it's just like a bad video game cutscene. It doesn't, like, an animated film wouldn't look like that. A comic book wouldn't look like that, ironically enough. Point is, so the MCU films mostly suck, the ones that Joss Whedon didn't direct, at least. I know we're supposed to hate Joss Whedon now because he's, like, you know, apparently kind of scum in real life. I'm sure he is, but I don't think that takes away from those 2 films being powerful, personally. Anyway, and just, fun, well-directed action in those ones. I think Joss Whedon was a decent action director because his action in Serenity was poorly directed, so he realised he had to up the ante. I'm sure he was insecure about that, and I'm glad he was. Because the Avengers had beautifully directed action, especially compared to the garbage Dark Knight Rises around that same time, and all the Man of Steel, fucking Michael Bay, Roland Emmerich, shaky cam, Bay shit that was coming out around that time, which is... I know some people have revisionist takes on Michael Bay, in like the first 3 Transformers movies. They're wrong. The action in Transformers wasn't bad, it's just that the problem with Transformers is that it's like, 4% of the film, and the rest of it's Shia LaBeouf and like dogs humping and stuff. Like that's my problem with Transformers. That was everyone's problem with Transformers. Not that they were like, but not that they weren't Ingmar Bergman films. Not that they had action sequences. The biggest criticism of those films at the time was if people used to say, "Oh, if it was just giant robots fighting, we'd be fine with it." That's why people like Pacific Rim, because that was more of the robots fighting and monsters in that case. I didn't like Pacific Rim that much because I felt like Pacific Rim's ratio wasn't even very good either. So my ratio is like I like Gundam. That's my ratio is that, guys. Like, most of the there's lots of soap opera stuff in Gundam, particularly the later worse series like Seed. Anyone who likes Gundam Seed is very incorrect and probably just a mistake in general. I'm very angry. Why am I so fucking angry? I don't even know. Like, I got out of Deadpool versus Wolverine, and like I really enjoyed it, and I was like, I don't know. You know what happened? You know what happens, guys? You know what happens is, excuse my being cross here. You know what happens is when I feel really good, I then think, well, why don't I feel good all the time? And then like all the reasons come in. Oh yeah. So I can't feel too good, otherwise I'll just get cranky because I'm just like, oh wait, why don't I feel this way all the time? Oh yeah, that's why. Fuck the world. No. What's happened is I'm gonna have to seek out a secondary income because one of my roles is just annoying the shit out of me. I'm kind of done with it, and so I'm going to be seeking out secondary employment. I don't believe in taking donations because I don't think my work here on this channel warrants money or anything like that. Like if I had the option to monetize my channel, which I actually don't at this point, if I had that option I might, but I'd never, but I'd say like, put on ad block if you want. I don't, whatever. I just wouldn't mind like a few cents coming in here and there, frankly. Although, again, like if people said, hey, why'd you put ads on? I'd just be like, turn on ad block. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I wouldn't ask for money from people who watch this channel though, because I don't think this channel's worth forking money over. I don't think anything on YouTube's worth forking money over. I think the people who do so are kind of slimy. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like, oh, I can convince some sucker to pay me money. I mean, maybe they pay money to other people's YouTube channels, so they feel like, oh, so maybe people will donate to mine. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe because like I've never donated to a YouTube channel because I just thought it would be kind of just like pathetic if I did. So I'm just like, if I asked for money, I don't think the people who watch me are pathetic. I can't. That would make me a real cunt. So I'm not going to ask them for money as a result. I really got to wrap this thing up. I think the film's a lot of fun. I've barely talked about it, but like let's just go through. Here, this will be a little bit of fun. Let's go through a history of the Marvel Comics film adaptations, and I'm going to see which ones that I kind of like, because I'm pretty sure I named them all, but I just want to be certain. This is live action. I'm not counting any of the animated films. There hasn't been that many animated films, and all those shows suck, by the way. There's a few more thoughts on what happens in the film before I get into this. I like that they had Cassandra Nova, and she's possibly the most unlikable, kind of detestable villain in any of these films yet. She's a real... Like, I was really glad when she stopped existing. Nice to see a Grant Morrison character in a film again. It doesn't happen that often, I suppose. But, Grant Morrison has a habit of composing these bold characters right back, and then vaguely self-insert. I don't know if Cassandra Nova is a self-insert, but obviously King Mob in Invisibles is a self-insert. And I was wondering if there was any bold characters in Zenith. And obviously there was Dr. Michael Payne, and I realised, like King Mob, in his own way, Dr. Payne is kind of a self-insert. Especially, kind of almost like Morrison at the end of his life. And, kind of thinking about his big creation, Zenith, which kind of took him off, catapulted his career and changed comic books forever with his subsequent works. Anyway, and it's funny that Cassandra Nova, like, she made me think of Grant Morrison so much, not because she debuted as Grant Morrison's character in his new X-Men run, but because, you know, when she's kind of, when the camera's facing behind her, the back of her head, I'm just like, oh hey, Grant Morrison's in this movie. But then it's like, oh no, that's not Grant Morrison. That's just an actress portraying Cassandra Nova, his character. Okay, my mistake. There's a shoe shop called like Liefeld's Feet. You know what's great about my cinema experience is, okay, so this film tries to be funny all the fucking time, and I was okay with it here because there was like 2 other people in the cinema with me, like there's 2 people at the back there, and I was kind of sitting in the center, and one of them chuckled at a joke at the end, but otherwise it wasn't like, I don't like seeing funny movies of the audience and they're just laughing at everything. I find it distracting. I know it's not even that I am a killjoy, I suppose, but it's like, I don't mind if I'm in a smaller group and people are laughing, you know, like a house, but like a living room situation or whatever. But something like being in a movie theater, I'm just like, I'm trying to hear what's going on, guys. We're all a bit loud. There's too many of us here. Can we turn the volume up, maybe? No. Let's look at these Marvel Comics film adaptations. See which ones I like. Okay. So yeah, I like Blade, X-Men 1 to a degree. I've got videos on those. Blade 2. Every film I'm mentioning, there's a video on. I've talked about, as far as I know, every Marvel film that I like on this channel for a video. X-Men 2. I was never the biggest Spider-Man fan in general. Like, I just don't. It just never clicked with me in the same way that I thought the X-Men or the Hulk or Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, or some DC characters were cool. I never thought Spider-Man was that cool. He's okay. Some of these villains are cool. Venom's cool. Goblin's cool. Doc Ock's cool. Spider-Man's got a great rogues gallery. That's half the fun of it. So yeah, none of the Spider-Man movies really compel me as a result. So, sorry guys. Yeah, the first Avengers film was great. But the best one up to that point, until Days of Future Past came out, that's X-Men. That's absolutely brilliant. That's far and away the best Marvel Comics film. And then the Age of Ultron I kind of like. Some of the Joss Whedon sort of charisma carries over. And God, I think all the ones after that I'm not on board with. I really want to watch Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I saw bits of the first Venom and it looked crummy, but this one's directed by Andy Serkis, and I do want to see Carnage in a movie. So I will watch Venom: Let There Be Carnage one day, and if I like it, if I like it enough, there'll be a video on the channel for it. And of course, we've got Deadpool and Wolverine. It's less than 10. It's interesting. Is it? Probably not. Anyway, I made this video just, you know, one of those preliminary thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. Everyone's doing them, even obviously, apparently, you know, I searched something completely unrelated to this, and then somehow, actually I was looking for that secondary job on the internet, actually, you know, Google, and I wasn't being specific enough with my search terms, and for some reason on the second page, it's like TikTok, Taylor Swift took to Instagram to endorse Deadpool and Wolverine. Taylor, no one cares, no one with a brain cares what Taylor Swift thinks. Like, I'm sorry. The music's not the worst thing in the world, but like it's pretty sub-mediocre, that being said. And it's like, why is that news? It's an Instagram post. She gave her thoughts on a fucking film. It's not like she said it, like if she gave some like radical fucking, you know, take on something, everyone was like, holy shit, yeah, that's news. Like, I think what happened with the bloody, when Donald Trump was president, like, and he was just saying just the craziest shit on Twitter, it just, like, the news just realized, like, we can just, like, make tweets news. Like, if the president or presidential candidate tweets something, that is kind of intrinsically important, potentially, but, like she's just, like, a singer-songwriter, or singer, like, songwriter's probably a stretch, but, you know, she's a singer, and, like, who cares? Like, is she as bad as some of the other people around? No. Are there people who sort of contrarian praise her because they love celebrity and just, like, those, like, I knew guys when I was a teen, like 4chan types, who, believe it or not, who had a weird appreciation of her. I think it's because they were, how shall we put this? creeps who belong in jail. But, you know, like, so the point is, it's just like, well, one, the point is, if you're into Taylor Swift and you're not like, you know, not a woman, well, you're a woman, girl, you know, like, I think it's kind of I just see it as creepy. I mean, I don't know why. I wouldn't feel that way about someone who was like, oh, you know, Madonna's got good music. Like, if some guy said that, I wouldn't think anything wrong of it. I don't know. I think that the whole, like, teenage girl, like, facet of, like, Taylor Swift's music versus the sort of, like, party sort of, like, you know, post-contraception and anthems of Madonna. You know, the real sort of, like, Camille Paglia essay stuff of Madonna. I can see why some people enjoyed that as just high-energy, upbeat, electronic, dance-oriented music. But Taylor Swift, these yearnings about, you know, what it's like being a teenage girl, or, like, you know, all these just, like, typical girly girl problems. It's fine on its own terms. Like, it's been, that sort of music's been around for decades, obviously, in one form or another, with varying degrees of sophistication, frankly. But, like, it just seems odd. Like, I don't see the appeal beyond the more apparent demographic, like people who are like Taylor, you know, whatever. Anyway, Deadpool and Wolverine, liked it a lot. It's the best solo-ish Wolverine film. Fuck Logan, fuck J. Bauman. Let's talk about the prequels for a bit. The prequels aren't a failure. It's a mixed bag. Phantom Menace is a mixed bag. Where Phantom Menace works, the 4 or 5 great moments in Phantom Menace. I have a video on it, and I went a bit crazy in that video. But the point is, I don't mind the film. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's a 50-50. It's an injured masterpiece, wounded classic. Attack of the Clones does suck. That's right. I can't, like, just from a narrative perspective, from a techno-aesthetic perspective, it's incredibly sloppy. I just cannot watch it. And on top of that, it's a really fucking dry, dull, boring film. And then you had Revenge of the Sith, which I'm a total fan of. I love Revenge of the Sith. It's my 3rd favourite Star Wars movie. It's better than Return of the Jedi. I don't hate the newer ones. I like Force Awakens. I like... Rogue One's fun. I don't fucking care. It is what it is. Gareth Edwards is a good director, in my opinion. I really like the Godzilla film from 2014. You know this if you know the channel well enough, but, like, who does? It's not worth doing so, really. But there's a million better things to do with your time. The videos are for me, and, like, it's not really... It's more a matter of, if you're curious about my thoughts on a particular film, you can search that film within this channel search bar and it'll be there. Not that you ought to watch every video, but, like, if you ever wanted to, that's kind of why they're there in a way. They're there for me first and foremost, but they're not there for, like, oh, I want people to watch all of them. It's more like, you know, they're there so if you do want to find a specific title, I've covered it. And you don't have to ask me to cover it in future, effectively. Other people are. I mean, people do ask me to cover certain films sometimes. I don't know how much I'm going to keep doing that anymore. People... Oh, here's the thing. This is an announcement I need to make. I'm no longer responding to any... this has been the case for a while now. I'm no longer responding to any requests to... where can I find this movie? Can you help me see this movie? I don't want to compromise my method of viewing the films. If you know the method, you're aware immediately when you go on AOD how I get the films. And that break-ish I took in the middle, almost this time last year, that made it clear to a lot of people what my method was, I'm sure. There are people who watch this channel who utilize that method as well. I know that, actually. So, the point I'm making is, if you ask me where do I find this film, how do I watch this film, if I respond, it'll be me linking you to where to buy it online. One, because, you know, I'm sick of people younger than me being all like, oh, I want to watch this, I want to watch this, or I'm depressed all the time, or I just want to watch this and then go back to being depressed. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want people who feel sorry for themselves to interact with me in any way, shape, or form. It disgusts me, to be honest. And secondly, I don't want. I'm sick of, like, you know, you give them access to one of these films and half of the time. Now, this doesn't apply to everyone. I used to do this more regularly because people were more vocally grateful. But, you know, you send them the film and then, like, you don't hear back from them, and then, or they'll, like, you know, in some case you send them a film and then, like, after they beg you and then they don't even watch it, like, they never mention that they've watched it, and you're like, okay, fuck you then, you ungrateful cunt. Like, it was just like they just want to see if I would out of, like, a power thing. Like, I can't deal with that, I'm sorry. Anyway, I like Deadpool versus Wolverine, whatever the fuck this is called, Wolverine and Deadpool. Call it whatever you want. I call it a lot of fucking fun. And, like, look, how could it go wrong? Like, from my perspective, like, I want... Oh, the action works because it's all kind of melee combat. You know, the characters involved, Deadpool, Wolverine, then they bring in Electra Blade, Gambit, X-23. They use swords and, you know, knives and stabbing weapons. And so the action is more fluidly directed. It's very well directed. Who's the director of this film again? Because I was really impressed. And the humor wasn't... Here's the thing, like... I thought the Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, the first two, they weren't really pandering to sort of, like, edgy comic book fans who were, like, in their, like, 20s or 30s, like the comics were. They were pandering to, like, people who thought they were comic book fans now because they watched the fucking films and shows. And... You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a... And they were just pandering to those people, and, like, people who like comedy. The humor in those films was a lot more kind of crass, sexual, and... I didn't dislike the humor as such. It was what it was. I'm not a fun guy. I don't like humor or comedy. I'm kind of a jerk, as they say sometimes. But, you know, like, it just... I liked... the comics humor more so than the film sort of, like, toilet humor or sort of sex jokes, sort of like more obnoxious sort of internet pop culture references. Hey guys, that sort of humor. Hey guys, this, we agree, look, we reference this thing, yay, we know about the yay, ready, yay. Deadpool and Wolverine was closer to sort of Deadpool's sort of very macabre, twisted, and just, you know, fuck around humor in the comics. I thought it was closer to that. Loved it. Yeah, very happy. Oh, Shawn Levy, who previously directed a bunch of shit. Like, total shit. Holy fuck. Oh, he's directed a bunch of bad films. Oh my fucking god. Holy shit. It's the guy who directed fucking Night at the Museum. Jesus. I guess he worked with Ryan Reynolds in Ryan Reynolds' two movies recently, The Adam Project and Free Guy. So, but look, like, this really just needed to be competently directed and the stars could carry it in a way. And the VFX artists, obviously. You know what, I'm going to stop recording here. I'll listen to this back, and if I feel like there's reason to add to this particular recording, I shall do so. Thank you. Yeah, don't take any of this too seriously. It's just a bit of a fun, improvised, you know, just having a yarn. Take seriously, I guess, if you want, if you can, my thoughts on the film, Wolverine and Deadpool versus Wolverine, whatever the heck it's called. Everything else is just a bit of fun, off-topic. It may have been Reginald R. sneaking in some recordings when I wasn't at the computer. You know, he's just trying to fuck me up. Oh, my evil twin, Salamander. He's out there somewhere. He never ceases. He never rests. One of these days, I'll have to confront Salamander. On that day, next time I see him, I pray that whatever the outcome, it shall be our final battle. Yeah. Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it.